and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. The next thing I need to do is push the record button. Record to the cloud. John, is that, or just to this computer? Just to this computer. Okay. Very good. Gail, could you conduct a roll call
Supervisor Cannon,
here?
Councilman Fideli,
Here.
Councilman Kay,
Here.
Councilman Redwood,
Here.
Councilwoman Morrison. Here. We have quorum.
Okay. I have one amendment to the agenda. I would like to entertain a motion to amend the agenda to add the bid that we have for fencing for the highway garage site. We have received a bid which has been transmitted to the board, and I would like to add that to the agenda. So if I could have a motion to amend the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Well, here we are in October, our 7th virtual or partly virtual town board meeting, living in the age of COVID-19. I wonder today how it will be to look back on this time that we're living through 5 or 10 years from now. Who knows? Speaking of COVID-19, here in Dutchess County, the current number of people who are known to be infected is 126, which is down from the last month when we talked about this, and with 10 people hospitalized. The vast bulk of the COVID cases are in the western parts of the country, of the county. But that doesn't mean that we should relax, and we're not relaxing. I just want to talk briefly about what we are doing at Town Hall. The measures that we have put in place remain the same, which is requiring the wearing of masks when anyone is moving around the building, when entering the building, moving around the building, or when there's more than one person in an office. Windows as much as open as much as possible, which maybe not too much longer. We have daily cleaning and sanitizing, and we have a sign-in sheet so that we can do contact tracing should we need to. We are going to be putting in a drop box on the outside of the building for people to drop off materials after hours or on weekends. But the clerk has specifically requested that this not be for the clerk's office because we do not want people dropping off sums of money. As we look at going into colder temperatures, when it becomes more and more difficult to have the windows open, we are having the windows open here tonight. And some of you may wish you brought a sweater. But I think it's important to look at ways that we can enhance the safety of Town Hall. And I have done some research and am looking at buying for Town Hall 2 medical grade filtration units. These are standalone units which will purify up to 1,600 square feet in 1 hour. They're medical grade units, and I'm proposing that we are going to put one downstairs and have one upstairs. We could also bring them over, or one of them over to here before and after a board meeting. I'm proposing that we buy 2 of them. You get a break on the price of $4.99 for 2, and we can get them fairly quickly. Lauren has already looked also face a different kind of threat at the town hall, a threat to our town, to the taxpayers and so on. And that is the threat posed by internet viruses, phishing, and ransomware. A particular vulnerability is our email addresses, which were originally with Taconic, which then became Fairpoint, which then became Consolidated Communications, and which are no longer being supported at the level which is acceptable. We will be migrating all town email addresses to a town of Northeast New York.gov email address later this month. All existing emails will be forwarded to that seamlessly, and will do so for at least the next year. So there is no danger of anyone missing an email at town hall. But we will communicate, we will put this up on the website. When we have them, I'll be working with everyone at town hall regarding the exact email address, but this is, for instance, they will be supervisor at town of Northeast New York.gov, business office, town of Northeast New York.gov, etc.
Chris, they can't hear you on Zoom.
Okay, let me try talking into the microphone a little bit more. Microphone is right here.
Are you still connected to that?
No, apparently not. Not connected to the speaker. Bill, I don't know whether you can help with this, but that worked fine connected to this laptop in the office, Bluetooth wirelessly. For some reason, it's not tonight. I can put, if people can't hear me at all, I can put this on the laptop's microphone, which might be better.
Yeah, no, because Catherine Johnson texted me, we can't hear anything.
All right, let me see what we can do. Okay, we are now, the microphone is now the laptop's microphone. Hopefully that's better. I'm looking at our Zoom participants. Can you hear me better now? I see no response.
They still can't.
They still can't. Let's see. Join audio, join with computer audio. I have joined with computer audio.
Can you click that again?
I'm clicking everything that I can to join with computer audio. Oh, okay. Getting thumbs up. All right. In addition to the email addresses, which, and I thank Bill for your suggestion on that. I think it's a probably overdue improvement to our town emails, but everything that we've learned is that the town emails at Taconic, Fairpoint, Consolidated, etc., were very vulnerable. In addition, there is, as you may all recall, we purchased a new server, which has been installed. We saved up for that server for a number of years, and it is now in and working well. There is a lot of ancillary electronic equipment in the closet, which is next to the server, which also needs to be upgraded. And we have asked our IT consultant, Phil, to look through that and to, hang on one second, I'm just going to mute everybody here, I think. Mute all. he's gone through all of that equipment. There's a lot of equipment in there that relates to the server. This is way beyond my pay grade at this point, but he has given us an estimate of the equipment that is required to bring everything else up to speed with the server. And that estimate is $5,414.52. I will be sending the board a detailed breakdown of what that equipment is. I would also welcome, Bill, if you have a chance to look at that and give us sort of a second opinion on that, but that would be much appreciated. Okay, a number of other items. I had a meeting, I was invited to a meeting by the fire district to discuss the new rail trail going north from the village. As you know, it's not yet open, but it is expected to be open in November. The fire company is very concerned that the trail going north is narrower and has extensive bridge work, which are very narrow, and that they will not be able to access the trail in order to support the EMT services on the trail. We have had calls, EMT calls on the southbound trail this year. As you can all imagine, there have been a lot of people using the trail, and this is a concern. The fire district wanted to know whether we felt like investing in another ATV. They already have one, but they were interested in a second. The meeting included a representative of the county parks department, and both the county parks department and I, on behalf of the town, said that this was not something that we were about to contemplate at this point. But it is an issue, because there are sections of the trail which are really difficult to access going north. And one of the suggestions which I made was that they could put a sign up at the trail just in the village here, warning them about the presence of rattlesnakes on the northbound section. Because apparently there are rattlesnakes in that section. That might cut down on the number of people going north. Anyway, it's not something we're going to solve tonight. I have been, when we finished the comprehensive plan, one of the recommendations of the comprehensive plan was the establishment of an economic development committee. There are 3 committees actually, which were recommended following the setting up of a zoning review committee. An economic development committee, an agriculture advisory committee, and a housing committee. I have been working on putting together an economic development committee. I've made good progress on that. And the following people have indicated that they are prepared to join it. In no particular order, but Chip Barrett, Rob Cooper, Lan Rubin, who is the head of Northeast Ford, Dick Hermans, Stacy Moore, John Scuteri, and Betsy Trotta. There are some others who I've talked to who are going to be getting back to me, but I will keep you posted on that. I think it's important that we get this committee going, and as soon as possible, then we can look at the agriculture and housing committees as well. On your places, I have left you a brochure about the Eddie Collins Field, Millerton Community Park. I went to a meeting today with the village and with the Parks Committee. They are really moving forward on renovating the park. I know that we had a presentation on that last year, I think. Anyway, I got you these maps so that you can see what this first phase of this project looks like. It is a really exciting project. Steve Waite is chairing it, and They have made a lot of headway on financing phase one of this project. I just wanted you to see the graphics for what the park's gonna look like. I did make a little presentation. I told them that, you know, just as, even though it's in the village, it is certainly something which residents of the town have used and have been interested in. And the town obviously is supportive of all of their efforts to renovate the park. The census, as you may know, has been extended now to the end of October. The most recent numbers that I've seen for Dutchess County are much better. I don't have the precise numbers for the town of Northeast, but the door-to-door work that was done by the census workers has produced a lot of people, and it's in the 90% range at this point. We've had a request to close a portion of a town road, Schaefer Road, down near, in between Chicago and Smithfield, is a very short section of dirt road. Bob, I'm thinking it's less than a quarter of a mile.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's just, it comes off of Route 83. There is a property owner who owns land on, or who will own land on both sides of that road and who's interested in seeing it closed. I think we will be happy to close it. It's a very small little piece, and it's a considerable effort to go plow it or maintain it, and it has a culvert which is decaying. So there are some benefits to us for being able to do that, but I'll be getting back to the board on that. I am hoping to set up a broadband committee, which will be benefiting from the work that people in Ancrum and Pine Plains have been doing on this. Hoping to find people in the town who would be interested in engaging with me on it. Couple of other quick items. The recreation contract has been signed. Thanks to the Recreation Committee for its help. There are a couple of fees that the town assesses, which I would like to review, and I will present them to you at the November board meeting. One is the, and correct me if I get this wrong, the genealogical search fee.
That's correct.
Which is a fee that we charge for genealogical research is very low compared to other towns. And another fee that is charged is the recreation fee, which is assessed for subdivision applications. Both of those, compared with other towns in the county, are very, very low. I will bring you some more detail on that over the course of the next month. Bulk Trash Day is now going to be on Saturday, October 17th, and it will include electronics, which will be taken to the Dutchess County Hazardous Waste Pickup the following week. And that's very much thanks to Andrew Stamen, Kathy Chow, and the Climate Smart Communities Task Force. Lastly, I did send to the board a revised list of town board committees. Just trying to eliminate some that don't have a purpose or don't meet, and to bring them a little bit up to date. Okay, sorry for that long thing. And Dave, you've been very patient. I'd be happy to have you make a report.
So
I'm going to turn this around so that I don't lose everybody, so that people can see you.
I have I've given everybody a copy of the monthly statistics for September, and pretty much they were very close to last year's if we take out the helmet deployment. So you'll see a little notation in the totals on the second page, the backside. We actually had 17 removing the 43 helmets that we deployed over Labor Day weekend. So looking at last year's statistics, we had 17 calls, same as what we had this year. And arrest-wise, I think we were too short in the town. We had one arrest in the town last year. I'm sorry, 3 last year, 1 this year. But otherwise, the numbers were pretty close.
Okay.
All right.
On this, Dave, on this sheet that you give us, when it says custodial, that means it's an arrest?
It means brought back to the station, fingerprinted, etc.
Okay.
Yeah, non-custodial would be for driving, we don't fingerprint people for not having a good license, for a suspended license. We take the information so we can put it in as an arrest, but we don't have to bring it back to the station. I would say probably 95% of the time people are sent away as long as they can get a driver for their car. Valid.
Right.
So that would be non-custodial versus custodial.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have a question for Dave?
You guys have, you do know that we have cameras, we have body cameras, as long as there's only 2 people working. We'll be out Halloween, but 2 people will have body cameras. Currently, we're down to the 1 car, as you guys know. But if I were to activate this camera right now, it would link up to the computer where in the car. And if I turn on the overhead lights on the car, it automatically activates this body camera. So we have a camera that looks out from the car, and we each carry, when we're on patrol, again, not exceeding 2 people. Usually, we don't have more than a couple of people out. But we all are wearing the body cameras now. So you just have to remember to hit them.
So if you turn the lights on in the car,
It automatically turns us on, and
Yeah.
I mean, we could turn it off manually if we wanted to, but obviously in our policy, it's, if the overhead lights are on, we leave it on unless, you're just doing it for traffic control and, the situation's over. So, and if needed, you could certainly ask Chief Feeder for footage. We aren't, we aren't just opening it up. It's not it's not something that we want people to peruse everything that we do. But if there was an incident, you could probably talk to him with, one-off and review it. If anybody made a complaint about a police officer. Great. And I think the only notable thing on here, the only thing that was a little unusual, the fire department was called out and they had to check on the welfare call. Gentleman in a car, apparently somebody had interacted with him, thought that he didn't seem quite right. By the time I got there, it was almost to Amenia on County Route 83. By the time I got there, the door was open to the car, the engine was running, he's nowhere to be found. We called out the fire department. There were no canines available from any police department around, so I called out the fire department to help me do a search of the location. Thankfully, the fire chief found this gentleman crawling on the side of the road with a very dim flashlight, hardly lit at all. Turns out he was missing from Maryland 4 days earlier. So a report had gone out. He was an Alzheimer's patient. The family, I spoke to the sister. She's obviously going to take the keys away. Not a very smart thing to do with an Alzheimer's patient. He had $518 on his person. So they're going to remedy that, but good. It was a good, I thought with the fire department and the police department, we found the guy thankfully and got him, brought him over to the hospital and just made contact with the sisters.
We're a long way from Maryland.
A very long way. When asked by me and when asked by the doctor in Sharon, do you know where you are? He thought he was close to Baltimore in Maryland. So it was pretty clear, the sister was thrilled. Sounded like she was teary-eyed when I was talking to her on the phone because she thought that her brother would probably come up deceased. She didn't think that he was going to make it because it had been for 4 days. So
I think this is, from what I've heard and seen, this is something we may see more of, because the incidence of dementia and confusion seem to be increasing. I think it's good that this kind of situation is something that's presented itself so that in the future, people can understand that not everybody is necessarily on drugs or anything else.
absolutely.
People can be very confused and very lost.
He was only 71 years old, which in my estimation is very young for an Alzheimer's patient. I'm only 11 years away, so I hope I can keep it together for longer than that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so our appreciation certainly to the fire department, and it all went well, and could have gone a lot of different ways.
Okay,
Anyway, but
Great.
that was the most exciting thing for the month.
all right. Well, thank you very much for that.
Does anybody have any questions?
I just wondered, are there any special limitations, restrictions on Halloween this year?
Not that I have heard of. Usually the village passes a curfew, 9 o'clock. Anybody under the age of 16 has to be indoors. I don't know if they're going to do it this year, but I will be checking into that. And I think it's going to be pretty light this year.
I would think.
But we're going to probably have, I think, we haven't set it in stone yet, but I believe we're going to have just 4 officers out. We only have 1 patrol car, so we'll have 4 officers out. If it's a somewhat warmer day, we might decide to use the bicycles, but I don't know. That's just a big question mark so far. But we'll have probably 4 guys out. And hope for the best. Been very quiet over the last few years, and I expect it to continue that way.
Thanks, Dave.
All right, thank you guys. Stay healthy, everyone.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to work our way through our department reports. Bob, you have a highway?
I do.
You got a few items on the highway.
Yes, I do. The first is I have an amended 284 agreement for the board to consider. I adjusted 2A to reflect the actual cost of the Mill Road paving project. I added 2B for a guide rail replacement project on Sawchuck Road for a total cost of $44,078.
Right, that was, this is, for those of you who are on Zoom, this is an amended 284 agreement, and it provides for installing guardrails on Sawchuck Road. I've sent it to the board earlier, and I would like to entertain a motion to approve the amended 284 agreement as described by Bob.
So moved.
Second. Okay, this is, did you get that, Dan? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Next, we have the auction results for the 2 surplus fuel storage tanks. The high bids were, the first one was $1,550, and the second one was $1,575. Which I think
This
are
is the auction results for the 2 fuel tanks down at the old highway garage. One for $1,550,
$1,550,
and the other one's for $1,575.
75.
Is there, hold on, I just have to turn this off. Is there a motion motion to accept the results of the auction for the 2 fuel tanks at the old highway garage?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded by Ralph, all in favor?
Aye.
And the only other thing I have, I just wanted to let the board know we have the shared bucket truck this month, and we're currently out doing tree work on various roads.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next, we have our assessor on the line, or on Zoom here. Hopefully she can hear us. I'm going to try to unmute her.
I think I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Hopefully everybody can. Go ahead, Catherine.
Hi, everyone. I just have a quick little note that we are now entering exemption season a little bit early so we can get a head start. And I just wanted to remind everyone that you may have said it in the front of the meeting here earlier, but town hall is still closed to the public except by appointment. So to make sure that you're coming to town hall to drop off an exemption application, please call ahead to our office to make arrangements. That's all I have now.
I'm sure that you will be able to transmit that information to anybody that calls your office regarding an exemption.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Gail, I know that you have sent us the planning, zoning, and building reports.
Correct.
Yeah, and the board has those. Town board committee reports. Highway, George,
Well,
I'm gonna just turn the computer here so that you are visible as well, maybe a little bit more audible, but speak up.
The sand, salt shed is completed. The project is completed. We are operational, ready for sand and salt to be brought in, which shouldn't be too long in the distant future here. We're currently working on the DOT entrance. We are, the work, the excavation work has already been pretty much completed. And we're ready to bring in stone for underneath what will be the paving that will go on top. And that should be very shortly. So we're on schedule, moving right along, and things are going well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, George. Police Services Committee will of course be dealing with, there's an item on the agenda for that. So we can just leave that until we get to that, unless you have a report you want to make now. No. Recreation Committee, John, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, so the recreation contract was signed, and Lana and I will, be in touch with the village committee going forward to get working on the next contract.
One of the things that I will want to bring to the Recreation Committee is more detail on this Eddie Collins Field project, because this is, obviously very important to recreation activities in the town. And then we have the Zoning Review Committee. We have Edie here. Do you have a report? You do not have a report.
You have a resolution.
I do. I do have a resolution. Okay. We are running a little bit behind, but we are going, I'm going to move right now to the hearing on the local law number 1 to override the tax levy limit. As you know, at our last meeting, we scheduled a hearing on local law number 1. I would like to have a motion to open the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Lana. This requires a roll call vote.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye.
Okay, the hearing on local law number 1, to adopt the law to override the tax levy limit is now open. Is there anyone who would like to speak on this? Hearing no one, I would entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Motion by George Kay,
Second.
second by Ralph. Could we have a roll call vote to close the hearing?
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye.
Okay, then, we have a resolution which was prepared by Warren to adopt the local law. Warren, I don't know if you can hear me, but hopefully you can hear me. And I don't know if you are muted or not muted, but should... Okay, do we need a reading of the resolution?
No, it's the same resolution we pass every year.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions.
It was distributed to the board, so they've all had it.
No reason to, but you need a roll call vote.
Okay. I would like a motion to approve the resolution to adopt the local law to override the tax levy limit.
So moved.
A motion by Ralph,
Second.
second by Lana. Roll call vote, please.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next is, we are going to have a hearing on the Water District Benefit Assessment Roll. As you all know, this was distributed to, when we brought it up at the last meeting, it was distributed to the board, it's been made public. So I'd like to entertain a motion to open the hearing on the Water District Benefit Assessment Roll.
So moved.
Second.
You know, I think we need,
What was the second? Midwood?
Yeah.
Supervisor Cannon?
aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye.
Okay, the hearing is open on the Water District Benefit Assessment Roll. Would anybody like to speak on this? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to close the hearing on the assessment roll.
So moved.
Second.
Supervisor Cannon?
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli?
Aye.
Councilman Kay?
Aye.
Councilman Midwood?
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison? Aye.
Okay, the hearing is closed. I'd entertain a motion to approve the assessment roll.
So moved.
Motion by George. Okay. Second by Lana. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Got those two taken care of. You have received a copy of the tentative budget for 2021. I have had an opportunity to meet with each of the members of the town board individually and to walk through the budget for the year. At this point, the board will be receiving the budget. We will be scheduling a hearing on the budget for November, for our meeting in November, which I can't remember when it is, but is it
November 12th.
12th? Okay. And as you know, it's, at the moment, it is a tentative budget, and once it's been received by the town board, I believe it becomes a preliminary budget. Somebody had fun working those things out. Anyway, it is, there are really three things of note in this. One is that there is an increase in expense for the library. That is pursuant to an agreement that was reached between the town and the board of the library. The second is that there is an increase in the fees to Northern Dutchess Paramedics. That is also pursuant to an agreement and a contract which was signed. This was something that was negotiated between Northern Dutchess Paramedics and three towns, and actually four, including the village of Millington, with Amenia and Dover. Then the third item is that as we begin to look at the costs of phase 3 of the highway garage project, this is the biggest, the most expensive part of this project. The highway committee, and George and I have been looking at the cost and the design of the garage. We are working with Ray Jerkowski and with Bob to see what we can do in terms of the design to bring, to achieve every possible cost cutting and saving that we can on this structure. But nonetheless, it's going to be an expensive project. I think we've all known that for a long time. We don't really benefit by just pushing this off down the road, and certainly not by having a storage building and our sand salt building up on 22 and working out of the old garage. I drove by the garage today, and it amazes me that we can even get those trucks in there. I looked at it and I thought, I don't know how you do it. Anyway, it is a failing structure. So it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it fails. And it's 100 years old. The cinder blocks are coming apart on it. Anyway, the construction so far has been financed with a ban. We've taken out 2 bans, one last year, one this year. We were able to secure financing for this year's ban of 0.95%. That enabled us to roll in last year's ban. This year's ban is almost twice as big, and the total interest cost is less. But we will eventually be looking to bond this project. And if we are able to bond it next year, the first payment on that would not be due until 2022. But in order to not have as large a jump in expenses in 2022, we have put money into the budget to anticipate that. So that is basically the outline of the budget. Everybody has seen it, and I think what I'm looking for at this point is a motion to approve the tentative budget.
So the question first, Chris,
Yes.
on the budget. If we didn't have to set aside money for the highway garage phase 3 project, would we have been under the tax cap with this budget?
Yes, we would have been. And obviously, it would be very appealing to all of us to be able to produce a budget that would be under the tax cap. But it would leave the town in a position of potentially then having, right after having a budget that came in under the tax cap, then having a large increase the following year. So, much as I would love to be able to say I produced that as a budget, we've really worked hard on this budget. Everybody has looked at it and gone over it, and I think it's a responsible budget for the town, which is, positions us to take care of what we need to take care of in our infrastructure.
Thank you.
So, I think what we need at this point is a motion to accept the tentative budget.
And set the public hearing.
And to set, thank you, to set the public hearing for, which will be at our next board meeting, which will be on November 12th.
At what time?
Excuse me?
At.
Let's say, well, it seems that I managed to go on quite a long time tonight, but anyway, let's set it for 7:30 on the 12th. So, did you get that motion, Gail?
I do that.
Okay, so I would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
What's going on? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I am trying to get rid of I want speaker view. Hang in here with me. This thing is Bill, do you know how you can expand the Zoom meeting? Or, no, wait a minute, I think I can get rid of this, the rest of it. There we go. Okay. The next item, well, let's take care of the fence, because that is the item that I added to the agenda. The board has, we put out to bid the fencing for the highway garage project. The town received a single bid for this project from Sienna Fence Company in the amount of $65,230. As you know, in the past, sometimes when we've received only a single bid, based on the advice of our engineer, we have rejected it and gone back out to rebid it. The risk in doing that is if the company knows that you only received one bid, and are likely if you bid it again to only receive one bid, they could then bid it higher. So Ray Zurkowski, the engineer on this, has recommended that we award the contract for this fence to Sienna Fence in the amount of $65,230.
Is this chain link?
This is a chain link fence with an electric gate that will be able to be operated remotely by both village and town employees who are entering and exiting the site. And this is, the gate will obviously be in the location of the new entranceway, which George talked about earlier, and which is presently under construction. So I would entertain a motion to accept the bid from Sienna Fence Company for fencing in the amount of $65,230.
So moved.
Moved by George Day,
Second.
second, Sean Goodwood. All in favor? the police contract with the Village of Millerton. As you will recall, this was presented to the board at our last meeting. The contract went back to, we asked the attorneys for the town and village to go back and look at it, because the village, the contract that we had at that time, the village wanted more time for their attorney to look at it. So we agreed that the attorneys would go back and take a look at it. And if there were no changes, or if they were very modest, that I was authorized to sign the contract. However, I felt out of due diligence, I would bring it back to the board. The contract is basically the same contract that you saw the last time. The two things which were priorities for me and for the board were to make this a 2-year contract instead of a 3-year contract, and to provide for the establishment of a joint village-town police services committee. And the contract did that then, and it remains intact and completely in there. So I am bringing it back for the board to comment or approve again. I don't know if the Police Services Committee has any comments or any recommendations, but maybe, No?
I think it's fine.
Well, Chris, I know how hard you worked on this contract. And certainly Lana and I were involved in looking at every single word. I think it's a very good contract. And it does what you had wanted it to do. We have an advisory committee, we're in an advisory role. And that committee then receives concerns that the public may have of any police bad behavior. So it does allow for the public to get involved. They have a place to go to. They can complain to a board, and then we discuss this with the village, but the village is the one that makes the decisions. We just advise them, and we report back to the board of any problems that take place. So it's a good report.
one question that came up when I was asked whether this committee is subject to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law. And it is actually in the contract that it will, I think the language, and Warren, maybe you can correct me on this, that it will abide by, it's probably not the right language, but that it will comply with the requirements of the Open Meetings Law and will report back to the town board and so on. But I think, Warren, am I correct in that an advisory committee like this is not actually mandated to comply with the Open Public Meetings Law?
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, the mandate of the committee is simply advisory. They have no legislative or other powers. Then open meetings law is not required, except you could impose, we could create the committee, the open meetings law compliance requirement, which I think you did in this case.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the board? I would entertain a motion to authorize me to sign the police, the contract with the village for joint, for the operation of the police department in the town and as well as the village.
So move.
Ralph moved it,
Second.
second by Lana. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Gail, I'll try and get you a slightly more eloquent motion. Okay. My agenda is taken off. We have a proposed contract with Pine Plains Veterinary Associates for the operation of a kennel, which is where our dog control officer would remove dogs. This is pretty much identical to previous contracts that we've had with Pine Plains Veterinary Associates. It's been sent to the board. I'd entertain a motion to approve the contract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a proposed contract for the zoning review committee, which has been discussed between Edie Greenwood, the chair of the committee, and Matthew D. Rudakoff Associates. This contract has been reviewed by our attorney. Our attorney has proposed I think it's called a rider to the contract, which has been in turn reviewed by Rudakoff Associates. And I think we are in position to present it to the board. This is, we have three members of the zoning review committee here tonight, but this is an important step forward for the committee. This really enables it to begin its work. It's really already begun its work, but formally to start really digging in to this big job that the committee has. Edie, do you have any comments you'd like to make about the contract?
The contract, no, it's quite straightforward, and I think you've all seen it. Our kickoff meeting has been scheduled for the 19th, Monday the 19th. And that's the first meeting that Will will be here. It will be his meeting,
Okay.
subject to your resolution tonight.
Okay. For those of you who couldn't hear that, the next meeting, I should say, of the zoning review committee will be on Monday the 19th. And Will Agresta, who is the consultant,
Yes,
who will be the consultant,
he will be the consultant.
following the approval of this contract,
Yes.
will be here in person
Yes.
that evening. So I would like to, anything else that you want to add about?
I didn't know, are you going to read the resolution?
We have a resolution which was distributed to the board.
There is a change.
Okay.
In it's a minor change, but in the third whereas, it says, can you,
I can. It's referenced in the third whereas, on the second line, it says town's zoning code. It should be updated to town's zoning and subdivision codes.
because we're tackling both those sections.
Warren, I don't know whether you're able to hear any of that, but, okay, nothing, all right.
I can
It may
repeat.
make sense to have a reading of the resolution since there is a couple of, one or two words.
Warren said for me to work with, I think you're okay with it, Warren, are you not?
Warren, Edie is asking whether you are okay with the one or two word change that was, I believe, discussed.
Yes, the only change to the resolution was, the contract is
Oh, yes.
piece of services to be rented with regard to the update of the town zoning code and the subdivision code. In the resolution, I only indicated the zoning code, so the changes were to add reference to the subdivision code as well. And I'm okay with those, obviously, those changes.
Should we have a reading of the resolution?
If you like, I mean, I don't see any reason, with the changes made, we were a little pressed for time to make the changes, but, if you vote on the resolution with that change, I can make the change, have Barbara make the change and give you a resolution with that correct language in it.
Why don't we have a reading of the resolution just to, with that change in it?
Absolutely. This is a resolution authorizing the town supervisor to execute a professional services engagement contract with Matthew D. Rudikoff Associates Incorporated. Whereas the town of Northeast recently updated its comprehensive plan, and whereas the town board has noted that the town zoning code is in substantial need of revision, and further that section 272-A of the town law requires all town land use regulations to be consistent with its comprehensive plan. And whereas the town has appointed a zoning review committee to work with a professional planner in providing recommended amendments to the town board for the town's zoning and subdivision codes, and whereas the town has solicited proposals from qualified planning firms to provide the necessary professional services to assist the zoning review committee and town board in the adoption of amendments to the town code, and whereas the town board, with the advice of the zoning review committee, has selected Matthew D. Rudikoff Associates, Inc., also MDRA, to provide such services, and whereas MDRA has submitted a proposed contract to the town, which has been reviewed and amended by the attorney to the town, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute a contract for professional services with Matthew D. Rudikoff Associates Incorporated for professional services in conjunction with the update and amendment to the town zoning code in the same or substantially similar form as submitted to the town board for its review.
May I make a suggestion? I missed that next one, but it's the town zoning and subdivision codes. Towards the end.
Okay.
E is pointing out that it is the town's zoning and subdivision codes.
Yes, they're two different
Right,
sections.
so the rest of the last, would be now therefore be resolved, where it says town zoning code, we could just add town zoning code and subdivision code.
Okay, updated.
Thank you.
Same.
Okay, I think we've got it. I think we've got it right. Thank you. I would welcome a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ralph, seconded by John Ridley. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. As the board knows, we had a vacancy occur in the court office with the retirement of Doreen Morrison, who's now moved back to Massachusetts, creating a vacancy. We received a recommendation from the justices to appoint Virginia Wheatley as clerk to the justices. And at this point, I would welcome a motion to appoint Virginia Wheatley as clerk to the justices, retroactive to the day she started, 9/21, which is 9/21.
So moved.
Moved by Lana,
Second.
second by Ralph. All in favor?
Aye.
We welcome Virginia to the ranks of our town hall employees. Okay. The minutes of the town board meeting of September 10th have been sent to the board. Would welcome any corrections that any board member has, or a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, moved by John Goodwood,
Second.
second by Lana. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Okay, we have then the remaining items. We have a budget adjustment. In the A fund, an expense increase of $2,689, less an expense decrease of $2,689 for a net of zero. And in the DB fund, highway, town outside, we have an expense decrease of $23,817, less revenue decrease of $23,817. This is a reflection of the decrease in state CHIPS money. So we are starting to see places where the impact of coronavirus on New York State's budget is impacting the town. There are a number of other smaller ones, but this is a significant one, and next year, we know that we will not be receiving the same level of CHIPS money for highway that we did this year. In any event, we've reduced the permanent improvements line to reflect this decrease. I'd like a motion to approve the budget adjustments.
So moved.
Moved by Ralph,
Second.
second by, is that George? Second by George, all in favor?
Aye.
I have a special abstract dated September 11th, 2020, totaling $2,991.60, broken down as follows. Capital projects H1, $2,991.60. I'd like a motion to approve the special abstract.
So moved.
Moved by Lana,
Second.
seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. The special abstract dated September 25, 2020, totaling $9,047.62, broken down as follows. A fund, $2,067.09. DB fund, $6,980.53. Do I have a motion to approve the special abstract?
So moved.
Moved by George,
Second.
second by Lana. All in favor?
Aye.
And I have an abstract dated October 8th, 2020, totaling $161,424.68, broken down as follows. A fund, $46,150.76. B fund, $1,261.76. DB fund, $30,918.43. Capital projects H1, $79,683.53. Special grant fund, $1,694.04. Escrow T and A2, $1,552.50. Payroll T and A, $163.66. Do I have a motion to approve the abstract?
So moved.
Second.
Second, by Lana. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Voucher Committee for November 2020. Ralph Fidelli and George Kay. Public comment period. Does anyone have any comments? Bill Fish?
But yeah, so is the tentative budget going to be published on the town website?
Yep.
Okay, great. And the next question, a couple of questions about the police committee. Is the existing, members of the existing police committee, Ralph and Larry, going to be the designees to the new police services committee, or are you going to?
Yes, they are, and I actually failed to add that to the resolution, but we have discussed it. But it is, yes, it makes sense for the police services committee of the board to be the two representatives to that.
So since the, as Warren indicated, the police services committee is not required to perform the openness part of the openness meeting law, can I ask that at the first meeting of this new committee that the delegates commit themselves to operate the committee as if it were a government body under the open meetings law?
In other words, post an agenda.
No, not just post an agenda, but all meetings must be open to the public, all minutes must be made available to the public, etc.
Yes. Warren, I don't know whether you could hear that question from Mr. Fish.
I'm sorry.
Anyway, I'm not sure that I am bold enough to try and restate it, but essentially, I was being asked, since the resolution approving the contract speaks specifically to the police joint committee complying with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law, would the members, would the town's delegates to that committee commit themselves to asking at the first meeting that the committee adhere to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law,
As if they were a government body.
as if it was a government body. That would mean not only posting an agenda, but keeping minutes, making minutes available to the public, and so on. I know that we have not yet gotten down far enough down the road to even talk with the village about setting up staff for a committee, because obviously this now requires somebody to take minutes.
The village is the lead, naturally.
Well, the village would presumably be the entity that would provide that. But I see no reason why, if it's in the contract, if this is subject to, that the committee is going to comply with the requirements of the Open Meetings Law, why we would not state and insist that it comply with the requirements of the Open Meetings Law. Am I not getting it right?
Well, I just want to make sure that the distinction is clear. So the Open Meeting Law says that any government activity is subject to the Open Meetings Law. But then it says that government bodies, which are a subset of government activities, like this is a government body because you guys have decision-making capability. But a strictly advisory committee is not a government body. So there's two different types of behavior required, whether you're a government body or not. If you're a government body, then you have to do all of these things. You have to make sure that your meetings are open and available to the public, that your minutes are open and available to the public. But if you're just an advisory committee, then you're more or less exempt from all that stuff. So that's the reason.
Okay, well, since the whole purpose of this committee is to receive input from the public and to be an interface with the public, I can't see any reason why we would not want to abide by those requirements that you just stated, which would be applicable to a government body. notice, agenda, and so on and so forth. Yep,
Yeah, thanks.
okay. Any other?
If I can just interject on that, just.
Yep.
Committees don't always understand what the requirements are of the open meetings law, so it's probably a good idea at the first meeting to make sure that the committee does understand what their responsibilities are for compliance. The only problem that I see is for purposes of taking meetings, minutes and complying with all the requirements of the open meetings law, committee may need some financial help. So it may be, it could be that the committee may be asking the town and village to provide some of that help if it becomes financially onerous for them to comply. But, so there's no misunderstanding as to what they're required to do. I think it's a good idea for them to go over it at the first meeting.
Okay.
May I ask a question?
Yes, Ralph has a question.
Yeah. Since the Police Advisory Committee receives comments from the public, my question is, if there are no complaints or issues that the public brings up, is there a need for a meeting, or is a meeting held because of public concerns?
Well, Ralph, I think I can answer that, which is that the committee, when it gets put together, will determine its schedule of meetings. But I do believe that the contract actually provides for meetings. And if there were no, even if there were no concerns expressed, that would be something that should be reflected in the meetings, in the minutes of the meeting. But it is anticipated that the committee will meet on, an occasional basis. I don't think it is,
I think it was twice.
It says biannual.
says biannual, so
And
that,
I'll tell you, when I saw the word biannual, I Googled it. And I was shocked, because biannual, according to Google, can either mean twice a year, or it can also mean every 2 years. I mean, that's,
well, I can tell you that I'm gonna commit myself
Right.
to making sure that the committee does not meet every 2 years. Landon, did you have a further question? Okay, any other public comment? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.